I'm holding an ice cube. Now, you might wonder why, for the video on intimacy, I would choose to hold an ice cube. Well, because holding an ice cube is uncomfortable, right? There's water dripping down my arm. My hand is cold. I was holding the ice cube already for a couple of seconds before I started recording. And sometimes intimacy too can be uncomfortable. We don't want to let things, people, feelings all the way in. But by doing this small exercise with an ice cube, I actually get to focus in a really direct and simple way on being with things that make me uncomfortable. Where do I feel it in my body? In my hand, mostly. And if I soften to it, I only feel it in my hand, where it really is. If I clench and I'm like, I don't really want to be holding this ice cube, then I start to feel it in my solar plexus, in that area right above my stomach, right where my rib cage splits at the bottom. I feel disempowered by holding this ice cube. Why do I have to hold this ice cube? Why can't I have a boundary and set it down? I can do that. Look. Okay, this ice cube is not for me. I do not wish to be intimate with this ice cube. I wish to end the intimacy that I have with this ice cube by setting a boundary. Now, what good would be this lesson if I set the ice cube down? Oh, my hand is still cold. Look at that. I set the boundary. I set the ice cube down, and I still have a cold, wet hand. I guess I didn't really set that boundary in a fully embodied way. That relationship with the ice cube continues to linger after I set the boundary. So now here's the ice cube back again. I mean, this fucking ice cube making my hand cold. How dare this ice cube do that? I mean, sure, I'm the one holding the ice cube. I've chosen to use the ice cube as an illustration for this module on intimacy. But still, it's annoying the shit out of me. I don't like it. I don't like being uncomfortable. I don't want to hold this ice cube. I don't want to have a wet sweater cuff. I don't even want, you know what? I don't even want to be wearing a sweater in July, but thanks, Maine. Now, if we look at thermodynamics, actually, it's not the ice cube making my hand cold. It's actually my hand displacing the coldness of the ice cube. So it's the warmth of my hand that's looking for a new gradient. The warmth of my hand is being attracted to the lack of warmth in the ice cube. Now think about how that might apply to various lessons around intimacy in your life. I can think of many how it applies to mine. So this ice cube is going through an irrevocable change of state. It was solid when I started. It's already becoming more liquid. It's already part liquid. It's already entering my skin. The heat of my skin is making it less of an ice cube than it was when we started. That's what intimacy does. At the point of meeting, each thing is irrevocably changed. Each thing goes through a state change because of the way the energies are interacting and meeting. Now, if I can stay open to this, then it's not just me changing the state of the ice cube back into water, but it's also me getting to be completely with the truth of this experience, as simple as it is. I get to be with the truth of my discomfort. I get to be with the truth of uncomfortability. I get to be with what it feels like to simply be uncomfortable. My life isn't being threatened. I'm not going to have permanent damage. So how can I not only cause a state change in this ice cube, but how can this ice cube cause a state change in me by completely focusing my consciousness for this brief period of time where we're brought together? In Zen, there's a saying that not knowing is most intimate. I don't know where I'll go with this information, and I don't know where the water from this ice cube will go when it becomes liquid again. Some of it's going down my arm, it will evaporate in my room, and where will it go from there? All the water on earth has always been here. So what you pee out today could have been Cleopatra's blood back in the day. This ice cube today could have been Jesus' tears on the cross when he was wondering why God had forsaken him. All the water has always been here. And that's like the second law of thermodynamics. Energy is never lost. It just finds a new gradient. So when we allow the fullness and depth of intimacy, when we allow ourselves to be completely in that not knowing, in the magic of that transformation that happens in not knowing, in not letting ourselves get caught in the old fears or the old programming around what our preferences are. I would prefer not to hold this ice cube. But I know in my heart, I need to be here holding this ice cube right now. Intimacy is such a slippery topic. And I bring it in after boundaries because navigating the two is so important to our emotional sobriety. Because as I said, with putting the ice cube down, right? I can have a boundary. I can put the ice cube down. My hand is still cold. Eventually it will warm up again, but I'll still have the reverberations of that interaction to be responsible for. What are the reverberations of that? Well, my hand is cold. Well, it will cause me to say something different to you right now. And then what will the reverberations of that be? I don't know. Who knows? Not knowing is most intimate. So I can be comfortable with that, comfortable enough to pick the ice cube back up, to continue to hold it. I mean, when I think of the number of encounters just like this that I personally even just have in a day, every time I encounter a plant or my dog or the person who sells me a coffee, there is still this interaction, this simple energetic interaction. This is happening to us and around us and with us all the time. It's happening for us, not to us. Every time we interact with anything, even with our own breath, even in this building, I'm interacting with the breath of the other people in the building. I'm interacting with the light outside. How open to that can I be? How much can I shed resistance, fear, resentment, desire even, when desire can create a clench sometimes? How can I shed everything that causes me to clench and simply be open so I can really know what the next right thing is? Because if I'm clenched and I'm all caught up in certain ideas of what I want or what I don't want, or why I don't like to have a cold, wet hand or why I do. If any of those things clench me and I can't completely sit with this feeling and feel how it actually spreads down my fingers and spreads into my knuckles and spreads deeper and deeper into the muscles of my hand the longer I hold this. If I can't be completely open to that and instead caught in my preferences about what I want and what I don't want and what I think is good for me and what I think I know about reality and the world, then I will never learn what's really for me. I will never come from that place of serene and fully embodied trust that will allow actual emotional sobriety, deep emotional sobriety, unperturbable emotional sobriety. So now, my intimacy with this ice cube doesn't really allow for much desire. I can't, well, I mean, I could, I guess, but I find it unlikely that I would desire to hold an ice cube. Why? Because I'm already holding one. I already have it right here. There's no gap for desire to occupy, and desire requires a gap. So when we think of intimacy in the usual colloquial way as it applies to romantic relationships, we have to think about intimacy as being on a continuum with desire. When there is more intimacy in a relationship, when two people are as close as my hand and this ice cube, there's no bridge for desire to span. Desire needs a gap. I mention this because I think we often are surprised and disappointed when we have deeper intimacy in a relationship and find that the desire goes away the deeper the intimacy becomes. And the more we have a little conflict or we feel a little separate, the more we lean back to desire, we swing back to desire as a way to bridge that gap, which sometimes, might make you think, well, God, where do we land? And the answer to that is you never land. It's this constant flux, just like the state of the water in this ice cube. A little while ago, it was a solid. Now it's a liquid. That's an irrevocable state change. I couldn't even get this same exact water back into the ice cube tray at this point. Some of it's in my sweater. Some of it's been absorbed by my skin. Some of it has actually already gone off into the air in my room. I can't get it back. It's an irrevocable state change generated by intimacy. By truly allowing these two fields to meet completely without fear of the consequences. Accepting the consequences, I accept this cold hand. I accept this wet sleeve. This is intimacy. Two fields merging into an irrevocable state change. Irrevocable and unknown and unknowable. And our capacity to be with the truth of that, both the irrevocability of it and the really perfection of it, is the key to truly being free. We are only free when we accept reality exactly as it is, without preference, without ego, without resentment, without anything, any of the loops that keep our identity turbine in motion. I'm not now saying, oh, I'm a lady who holds ice cubes in her hand. I'm not going to take on this moment of intimacy and have it define me and take it on as a part of my identity. And then what? Next thing you know, I go out to a party, be like, "Hey, you guys, hey, do you want an ice cube? We could give you an ice cube to hold." Oh no, but I thought you were the person that holds the ice cube. No, no, I just did it. I just did it that one time. Oh, come on. Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm the person that holds the ice cube. Give me an ice cube. Let's do this. And I know that sounds like a ridiculous example, but these are the ways, these are the simple and unexpected ways that we start to take on new loops in that identity turbine. It gives that identity turbine more and more fuel to drown out the voice of true intimacy. The more we are able to be with what is, the more ourselves we become. I am very deeply myself holding this ice cube in my hand without fear, without without ascribing the sensations that I'm feeling to anything I like or dislike. I don't have any craving or aversion connected to the intimacy I'm having with this ice cube right now. I neither crave it nor am I averse to it. I don't overly feel the need to put it down. I don't really feel the need to grab another one when this one's over. I'm not going to be addicted to the cold. Like if the person that goes to that party and is like now the person that holds ice cubes, I better go get another ice cube because now I'm the person that holds ice cubes. I'm going to keep myself free of craving and aversion around this intimate experience and just be completely present with all of the sensations as the cold goes deeper and deeper into my hand, as my sleeve gets wetter and wetter, as I can feel the cold drips going all the way down to my elbow, even inside my sweater, as I can feel the cold has now crept through my whole hand, even down into my wrist. The back of my hand is cold. All my knuckles are cold. The field of my hand is completely changed. The heat from me, what I think of as me, the energy gradient that is me, has moved to where the heat was not. And that, on a very simple and mechanical level, is how intimacy operates all the time. Whether we're conscious of it or not, it's still happening. What's coming out of us is going into others. What's coming out of others is coming into us. So our best bet is to really be fully present and embodied in each of those moments so that we can be responsible, radically responsible for how we manage our field and what we're putting into other people's fields and what they're putting into ours. How could we put love into everyone's field? We can start by putting compassion into ours so that we can notice when we have a craving or aversion, when we want to put the ice cube down, or tricky addiction, when it feels so focusing that we want to pick another one up because it drowns out all the other identity turbine stuff, because it's so physical and deliberate and focusing, because it's such a specific sensation. It draws all my attention right here. I lose all of the other things that I think of as problems or conflicts or difficult situations. And I get to be right here. And that's how addiction starts. That focused forgetting, that beautiful squandering. but a squandering it is. Just like this ice cube is being squandered. I'm murdering this ice cube in my bare hands. This ice cube is passing away before your very eyes. And I'm doing it. And I take responsibility for that too. This is the simplest demonstration that I could come up with for how energy moves. Like, it's not woo. It's not obviously magical, though it is in a way. I can't see the heat coming from my hand. I can only see its effects on the ice cube. And so many of the things that we do are just like that. Oh, I didn't do anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with the resentment I carry. Oh, well, look at the effects. Look at the effects. And each of us only has access to a tiny sliver of reality at any given time. Our senses are designed to limit what we perceive. Let me say that again. Our senses are designed to limit what we perceive. Like our ears, right? Our hearing. When we're at a crowded party, our ears are designed, if you want to use that word, designed to limit what we hear so that we can focus on the person that we're actually talking to right now, so that we're not taking in every detail of every conversation on the other side of the room. Now, is that true? Is that the only conversation happening in the room, the one that my ears are easily and intuitively focusing on? No. No, there's so much more sound with so much more detail in it in the room. But my senses, to serve my consciousness, to serve my ego, to serve my capacity to make sense of this world, senses to make sense of the world, limit the truth of what's actually happening. So how do we then expand what we can take in as truth? Well, we first have to master those senses and to really understand their limitations and to really understand how they function. And one of the ways to do that is this little demonstration. I would actually encourage you to try this. Oh, I switched hands. Oh, I'm going to put it back in that left hand. Hold that ice cube like a prayer. Feel that water moving out of ice cube and into liquid, out of solid into liquid. It's on my leg now. By the time it gets to my leg, it's actually warm again. And just to be with discomfort, with total softness. To notice the sensations, to notice the way my senses are taking in the cold, really, before I add the label of cold to it. What is this sensation? This sensation is a stilling. It's a numbing and a stilling and a quieting. That's what cold is, really, in physical terms. It's taking all the dancing atoms of heat and stilling them. So all the dancing atoms of my hand would like to share the dance with the stillness where the ice cube is, because it's that motion that will always keep moving. The higher energy gradient, the higher intensity of energy will always be moving to look for a way to spread that energy around. So you could say, wow, that ice cube, I mean, what did it expect? I mean, let's face it, an ice cube's whole purpose is to absorb the dances of other atoms, to cool things off, to be the vacuum that the heat rushes into. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? The coldness is a sort of empty space that the heat will come in to absorb. I mean, this is how we get weather patterns. And I would like to suggest to you that our energy and the way it moves is no different from that. And the more we can be intimate, deeply intimate with all of those invisible forces that are all around us all the time, the more we can rely less on our senses, the more we can be intimate with everything, to be able to see where the limitations of our senses are, the more we'll really be able to reside in a bigger truth. And by residing in that bigger truth, in my experience, the trust and the peace that come from that all of these forces that I can only see a tiny sliver of are working for me rather than happening to me. I can trust so completely and with such serenity that my life becomes much, much easier. I don't have to worry about somebody else doing something even that's deliberately against me, because I understand that that's their path. That's their business. That's not even my business. It really has nothing to do with me. And that, letting go of what people think of you, or what kind of bullshit they say to you, getting rid of your need to be good, some fixed idea of what good is based on your ego and the societal expectations that have been put on you and the conditioning that's been put on you, to really be intimate with yourself to the point that you know what good feels like inside you, that you don't need external validation of your goodness. Your intimacy with the truth of all that is so unperturbable that you walk in trust. And you know you walk in goodness. You trust also that you walk in goodness. Because if you start to stray from that, you will feel it immediately in your body. You will feel that clench immediately. If you have an aversion for the ice cube exercise, you will feel it immediately in your body. Oh, why am I doing this stupid bullshit? Why am I even still in this group? What am I doing? Why am I listening to this bitch? I don't want to hold a fucking ice cube. Where's that in your body? How can you soften to something so innocuous? It should be easy. If you clench in the face of a demonstration this innocuous, if you go to hold that ice cube in your hand and you're like, I'm not doing this, is bullshit. Whoa, that is really worth looking at. There's learning in everything. There's learning in everything that you are willing to be intimate with. Every time you are willing to not know and just surrender to that total openness, that willingness to be penetrated by all that is. That's right, I said penetrated by all that is. That level of intimacy. If you can open to that in a fully embodied way, everything will shift. It's just how it goes. There's nothing in you keeping the world out anymore. So much of what we think of as goals or even the work we do in the world, so much of that is pushing things away. And until we can really sit and be intimate with all of that, then we can start to feel what we're doing that's externally oriented. What are we doing to get some prize out there, or to get some validation out there, or to get some, pursue some idea or some goal that is always going to be out there? And if we get that one, there's just going to be another one. And when are you ever going to have a happy heart? And the alternative is to truly be embodied, to truly embrace intimacy with all that is, to accept the interpenetration of all that is, to let the world all the way in. All the way in. Like this ice cube. It's not really, it's like a little shred now. Like this ice cube let me all the way in. And now what is it? Well, now it's liquid that is headed to parts unknown. Who knows what this will be next? Who knows what this water will be next? Some of it's probably already gone to gas and is oxygen in my room. Do you think that ice cube was like, I really like being an ice cube. I don't want to go in your hand and be liquid because I don't know where I'm gonna go if I'm liquid. I mean, can you imagine how stupid that would be? If every time you put an ice cube in your hot beverage, you were like, oh, you heard it screaming because it was so resistant to cooling off your beverage. And you're sitting there like, well, you got one job, ice cube. Cool the fucking beverage. That's not the ice cube's perspective. Oh, look at that. No more ice cube. It's gone. Just like we all will be one day. That's it. No more ice cube. The ice cube has passed away. Literally, the ice cube has passed away. What a brief time. And how grateful am I for the intimacy that I got to share with that ice cube. Because I really don't know how better I could have communicated intimacy to you more directly or succinctly, or with such delight in discomfort. Who knows where this water will go next? Oh. Well, thank you for joining me for this. Have a beautiful evening.